Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed those clips of my kids enjoying freedom here in the state of Utah, one of the freest states in the nation and in the world. Every 4th of July we do a video. We excuse ourselves from the usual autism programming to make a video about Independence Day. And on this Independence Day I want to talk about declaring independence is not enough. We have to keep our country free. And I want to start out by talking about something that just occurred. We were out in the front and a neighbor walked by, and no worry, she was masked up and maintained social distance and everything like that, but she dropped off a book for my son because he had some questions about Martin Luther King. So she dropped this off. I don't know if you can see that. And I asked her if she had ever read this, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. It's an autobiography. And she said that she hadn't. She's a lovely sister in our church, one of the members of our church, and so we just did a little book exchange. She's going to pick this up tonight, and I was thumbing through the pages of this. I went through the garage and picked it up, and I wanted to read a little passage from it because this was a former slave, so he didn't know freedom at the time early in his life. And so he says, "I've been frequently asked how I felt when I found myself in a free state. I have never been able to answer the question with any satisfaction to myself. It was a moment of the highest excitement I ever experienced." The highest excitement I ever experienced. Just being free. Imagine that, just being free. And that's what I want to talk about, is just how important freedom is. It's everything. It's worth our lives. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about what's going on in Hong Kong, for those of you who don't know. There was a security law passed, the national security law as Beijing, the CCP or the CRP or whatever you want to call it.
Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, the Chinese Communist Party basically issued a law, quote unquote, basically saying anyone who talks against them or says anything bad about their government is basically open season to get arrested. Not just in China, but outside of China. And of course that includes Hong Kong. I think about 400 people have been arrested in Hong Kong recently. When we first saw the Hong Kong riots going on, my wife and I remember talking to her and saying, you know what, it's game over for them. And she's like, well, why do you say that? And I'm like, because they're unarmed. They don't have the Bill of Rights like we do in America. They do not have a Second Amendment. It's going to be game over for them. And sure enough, they're pretty much all but done as far as their freedoms are concerned. And it's really, really heartbreaking to see that. They've been waving American flags in their streets for a long time, our American flags, and asking for freedom that they'll never receive, or at least that I know of. Meanwhile, we have people in our streets burning flags, tearing down, George Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln is even being vandalized, who helped abolish slavery. Now, I understand that these were imperfect men, and they made poor choices in their life, just like everybody else in life. And I do not condone slavery, obviously, in the slightest. I think it's an evil practice. Having said that, these men practice certain things that I am against. They also did many wonderful and good things in their lives, okay? People are not, forgive the expression, all black and white. Okay, people are a mix. We do good things and we do bad things. And our forefathers starting this country, starting at Lexington and Concord, and signing the Declaration of Independence, I think was one of the best moments in history. I really do. Speaking of Lexington and Concord, there's another example. British came and said, the Redcoats, they said, we're going to take your firearms, okay? This whole experiment of the American colonies, it's done, it's over. Hand over your firearms and this whole thing ends. What did Americans do? No, get out of here. And of course, as the history books have said, the British fired first, the shot heard around the world, And then a fight ensued, and the rest is history. The Revolutionary War began because American soldiers would not hand up their firearms. They would not relent. They wouldn't give them up. And I'm so grateful they did not, because now we have freedom. At least we do for now. This is a warning. I hope Hong Kong is a warning to everyone in the world who loves freedom, not just Americans. And I'm not trying to divide things across party either. As you guys know, you've seen in other videos, I am neither Republican or Democrat. I'm not actually a member of any party, really. I guess you could say the closest thing would be constitutionalist, because I love the Constitution. But even their party has some issues to work out. I am calling on every American, every person who loves freedom around the world, to wake up and realize what's happening on our planet. Freedom is dying. And if we don't act, if we don't stand up for freedom, it's game over. We don't make any more videos like this, okay? Already I've criticized the Chinese government. I won't be allowed there. If I set foot there and they see a video like this, I'll be arrested, okay? That's what we're fighting against, is oppression, tyranny, things like that. So guys, there's a really, well, I don't know how old the saying is, but it's an older saying: do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I feel like that's what we're doing here in America. And for those who aren't familiar with the expression, what that means is when you have dirty bathwater because you just washed off a baby, you don't throw the whole thing out, baby included. You just get rid of the dirty water, okay? And in this case, what I mean by don't throw the baby out with the bathwater is just because America has had sins in the past and mistakes in the past. And by the way, there is no perfect country that has ever been on the planet Earth. So America is no different. I'm not making excuses for America either. What I'm saying is just because America had a bad past with slavery and Native Americans and other things like that, you don't go just throwing away all of our freedoms and saying, let's rewrite the book, okay? I think it's a huge mistake. Should we get rid of free speech? Should we get rid of freedom of religion? Should we get rid of the right to bear arms? Should we get rid of the right to due process and have a warrant before someone comes into our house and knocks everything over and starts searching things? I mean, those very basic fundamental human rights, I believe we should always have those in place, okay? Regardless of what happened in the past. And I feel like that's what we're doing, is we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and I think that's a huge mistake. Yes, let's correct things that went wrong in the past if they're left unchecked or uncorrected. And I feel like we have corrected many of those things. Shoot, man, the Civil War, over 600,000 soldiers paid the price in blood for slavery, among other things. Their bodies littered American soil to help free slaves. Okay, there are many wrongs that have been corrected. And I'm not saying we're there yet, we're not. But please, let's not redo all of American history and introduce, gosh, I don't know what, communism, socialism, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I think it's a mistake to get rid of freedom. So yeah, as I said, it's not enough to declare independence. We might go out there and wave sparklers and light off fireworks, and that's fun, that's great. I think we should celebrate. But is it enough really just to celebrate Independence Day? I think we should keep independence alive, and the way we keep independence alive is through the Constitution of the United States, specifically the Bill of Rights. Now, other amendments, they have great things. Women have the right to vote, and of course, you know, we don't have slavery and the other amendments beyond the Bill of Rights, and that's good. I want to focus on the Bill of Rights because I believe if we keep those intact, if nothing else, if we just keep those 10 amendments intact, we will still stay free enough to enjoy what we know as freedom. And of course the rest of the Constitution, I don't want to dismiss that, but this video could get really long if I read the entire Constitution. I do want to point out Article 6 in the Constitution, which does say that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So when you hear other people say things like, yeah, but this law says this, or this law says that, if that law tries to supersede the Constitution, in my book, it's null and void. And I'm not a lawyer, but that's what the Constitution says. It's the supreme law of the land. And what good is having a Constitution if you could have a lesser law override it? That doesn't make sense. So if we keep the Constitution, and the point is keep, right? It's a republic as long as you can keep it. If we keep the Constitution intact and we live it, we will always have freedom. And other countries, other people are looking to America as the last beacon of hope, the last bastion of freedom. And if we screw this up, guys, if we lose freedom, that's it. It's game over for the world. The globalists win, they take over. Who knows what happens after that? I don't want to find out personally. I really don't. I'm a big fan of the statement, I prefer dangerous freedom to peaceful slavery. I really do believe that. And who knows, maybe, I hope not. I'll have to go out in a blaze of glory someday. because I refuse to be a slave to a government. And I know some people don't like hearing that in the context of a white person saying he refuses to be a slave. But I think you know what I mean. I refuse to be a pawn of the government and be unfree. Okay, I love my freedom too much. I'm sorry. I'm not going to just sit over and take it. So I hope you got something out of that. I know some of you are really tired of hearing me harp on the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. But look what's happening around us. We're losing freedom because we're not following it. We're not keeping it. And our legislators are failing us in upholding the Constitution, which they took an oath to, by the way. So God bless all of you in all the world. I hope freedom prospers everywhere. And we'll see you in the next video.